Alright, hello and welcome everyone to New Moon 2021. Wait a second, this isn't New Moon, this is Pool Party. So hello and welcome everyone to October Pool Fest stream. So today I'm your host Player Zero, and as many of you know, New Moon is on the usual break now. So we have few events lined up until New Moon is back. And today we have the first one, which is Pool Party, and over the next 2 weeks we will have 2 different Freaky Friday tournaments. And more information will be at the end of the stream, so keep an eye out. But before all of this, let me explain what is Pool Party and how everything works. So Pool Party is pretty interesting recent format where basically every participant gets assigned a pool of 50 standard chips and 7 mega chips. So these are selected randomly from the full pool of chips. But well, because of the random nature of the format, some limitations were required, or adjustments would be more accurate. So all Giga and Mega chips, or SP Mega chips I mean, are removed from the pool because they are too strong, and some of the basically weaker chips that don't really have much of a benefit have been removed. So things like Recover 10 or Copy Damage, which basically does nothing, these have been removed so they don't take up any space. And in fact, if you're looking at the stream's background, you can see the chips that have been in this pool. So you can see some of the interesting options that people might have had options to, and obviously we'll go more into that in the different setups. So there were a few other changes. Basically all chips were limited to 3 cookies maximum. So things like area grabs, buster ups were limited to 3, and the Navicust was limited to the base 5x5, so there is no out of bounds, which I think is one of the more interesting changes, and obviously we'll see what people end up making up with these limitations. Should be a lot of fun. Alright, and with all of that in mind, going to be joining me on commentary today is Shadow. Welcome to the stream, Shadow.
Hello, welcome. I'm excited to do my first N1 GP stream.
Alright, we're all excited to have you as well. So with that being said, let's head into our first match for today, with the setups being for Flop Tart vs Buster Cannon.
Alright, so in this we have some really interesting Navicusts, so I want to start with those. Flop Tart is custom heavy, really solid Navicust with +3 cust, super armor, and 400 health. So very solid start there. But as you might notice, Buster has number open and undershirt, which is definitely a possibility for the 5x5 Navicust, but maybe not one I would recommend.
Yeah, I mean, so number open, I mean, Buster Khan was really going for the record on the lowest number of Navicust parts. He only has the 2 of them, which, I mean, we'll see if it ends up working out for him. He does have, so looking at his folder, he's running basically a lot of the PAs that were available in this cycle. So we have Corn Fiesta, Iron Shell PA, which I forget the name of, the Fire Hit one, which I also forget the name of. But yeah, so a lot of interesting options there.
Yeah, I don't remember the fire. Yeah, I think the Iron Shell is Parashell. But anyway, he also has Fast Gauge regged, so I'm sure that'll come into play.
Okay, so Blue Mage asking in YouTube chat, what does number open do? So basically, number open is something you never see in normal PvP because of how big it is. It takes up a lot of space, and it gives you custom 10. So you have 10 chips in your starting custom hand. There are some limitations to it though. So if you go into Dust Cross, which as we all know gives you the Dust Shoot ability to let you cycle through chips, that will go down to 5. It doesn't even go down to 8. so that's one of the biggest limitations that it has. So we probably wouldn't see Buster Cannon going into Dust Cross, which explains why he has 3 Dustman, since this pool was very heavy on objectives.
Yeah, especially Time Bomb, so we might see some Time Bomb PAs too in the future. And moving on to Flop Tart's folder, really solid M code in this pool. So we have Mega Boomer, Golem Hit 3, and Elm Sword, which are all 200 or so damage, especially if you charge it with T-Hawk for the Grass Chip double damage, and also has the Corn Fiesta PA.
Yeah, I think a good number of people are running Corn Fiesta this cycle, so hopefully we'll at least be able to see one of them, and probably a good number of them, but we'll have to see. One thing I really like about this pool is that it has Neovari, which, as many people already know, that's my favorite chip, and both players here are running it. So I think both are running 3 area grabs. No, actually, it looks like Flop Tart is running the 3 area grabs, but Buster Cannon decided to go with no grabs, which is going to be very interesting.
Flop Tart also has the T code for getting rid of dust, which will probably not make a big deal because it seems like Buster doesn't want to lose 5 of his cust. And also has Mag Coil, very interesting chip. We'll see how that comes into play. And one last thing to really think about is Elm Trap. So there's 2 traps in this this cycle, which is Elm Trap and Anti-Sword. And Elm Trap is entirely nullified by Buster's Risky Honey. So we'll see how that plays out.
And briefly going into the Navicast for Flop Tart. So I think it's one of the more standard ones, I'd say. So there is very high custom 3, which is very high for this format, and decently high HP. 400 HP is not bad, though obviously that will sacrifice Buster stats, so that is something to keep in mind. Alright, and with that, I believe, let's head into the match and see how it plays out. So we can see already with Flop Tart getting that turn 1 PA. So this is one of the common things that people have done, is they put one part as the reg and the other 2 parts as tags, which will allow them to arrive sooner in the hand. And there we go. Let's see if it connects though.
Also, notice that Buster only has 1000 HP, and that's it. So, Corn Fiesta can definitely do some damage.
Yeah, so I believe the way Corn Fiesta works is that the number of hits can be RNG dependent. I don't think, I think it's limited to the 3x3 in front of you, but I'm not too sure. Do you remember how it works?
Yeah, so it's limited to the 3x3 in front of you, or if you're on the bottom row, it'll be 3x2.
Ooh, there we go. Let's see. Oh wow, that is massive damage. I think that's one of the higher damage values that I've seen coming out from Corn Fiesta.
That was a very high roll.
Oh, nice, and we see Buster Cannon going with that sensor into Dustman, doing decent damage as well, so getting in 310 damage, I believe. But now it's going to be pretty difficult for Buster Cannon, especially with all of this HP gone, and there are no recoveries in this. Buster Cannon does have the 3 Invisibles, Sanctuary, and the Life Aura as the defense. But he will need to be very careful about using it. Ooh, this Boomer connects, that could be Good
use of Mag Coil too to ensure that the Elm Sword hit. So Elm Sword only hits enemies if they're on a grass ice panel.
I'm not too sure if it applies on conveyor panels, but you wouldn't be on them for very long, so it would be very rare to see. And looks like now Flop Tart is going with defense. Ooh!
Whew, that was a lot in a D-cross.
And the double boomer play will finish off that game. Unfortunately, Buster Cannon does not have super armor, so he wasn't able to avoid getting hit by the second one. So we've already seen Flamehawk, which I think was one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most, because it's real time and it can potentially do quite a bit of damage, especially with the setup that Buster Cannon has with the Corn Fiesta, which I think was a very interesting decision.
We also see some interesting, what I think is a tech chip here, is M Cannon. It comes in the star code, and it's one of the only chips in the pool that does over 200 damage to delete a life aura, but only if you're in Beast Out.
Yeah, I mean, potentially 200 damage is nothing. Ooh, and that was an anti-sword, which Buster Cannon stepped into on purpose so he can proc that the anti-sword, so that was very nice. That could have been very painful for Buster Cannon if that wasn't anti-sword. And now they are starting at about an even HP, so both of them at 1000 HP, and we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah, Flop Top not having too many choices here, even with Cust 8. Definitely wants to save the Tengu Man for a potential life aura after being decrossed from Tengu.
Yeah, and so we do see the fan object is in the pool, but one of the things to keep in mind is that it doesn't instantly remove the life aura, so it sends wind from the back, so in theory if your opponent can mash fast enough, then they can take up the fan with Dustman or Dust Cross before it actually activates, so just something to keep in mind. We do see the life aura coming out from Buster Cannon, but thankfully Flop Tart does have the appropriate response. And another interesting out to life aura this format or this week is the anti-element, which I think is going to play a big role in this week's stream.
Definitely, and that'll remove the life aura even if he does use the bees, so no way out of that.
Flop Tart is considering how much they want to invest into the turn. I believe we are in fast gauge, so the turn does go by pretty quickly. Ooh, Flamehawk does connect with one hit, which is about what you'd expect. Oh, nice. Let's see. This is probably anti-element. So it could be anti-sword. I believe Buster Cannon runs two of them.
And both people being flashing, so they didn't get hit by the double anti-element proc. And it does, happen even if your enemies happen. So there's going to be some interesting double anti-element face-offs in the future.
And speaking of anti-element, one thing to keep in mind is that one of the main issues of anti-elements is that if there is an elemental attack on the field, so something like sensor or a boomer flying out, that will nullify the anti-element if it's used while that's on the field. So if there is the boomer object on the field, you use anti-element doesn't work, it just disappears for some reason. I'm not too sure why that happens, but that's a thing to keep in mind if that happens. Ooh, there goes that Corn Fiesta waiting for the TFC. Ooh, quite a bit of damage though. Was pretty close to finish off. Let's see what Flop Tart's going to play. Oh, nice, using the element trap, which will probably activate on Buster Cannon.
In a row lock with a Golem hit 3 is a fun choice, but it looks like Flop Tart's probably going to go for the more safe defensive play here. Or all out. Let's see.
So one thing to keep in mind is that you see one of the Corn Fiesta chips outside of the rigged one has appeared, and we know the next one is after that because that's how tag chips works. If one appears, then the next one is right afterwards, which means we know that next turn Flop Tart will have the option to go into Corn Fiesta. Ooh, but looks like Invis is coming out. Let's see if they survive into the next turn. Ooh, Spazman unfortunately misses. Using that Invis, which stalled out most of the turn, which, I mean, that's something we'll see pretty obvious, that Invis is pretty strong, especially in a format where there isn't much defense, and Parashell does come out from Buster Cannon.
It's always good to see those fun PAs that you don't get to see very often, especially when they end up deleting your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that Parashell could be one of the things that Buster Cannon still has, since that's one of the main outs he had, but looks like there it was. And one of the best parts about it is that it's actually pretty quick, so you wouldn't be able to react to it, just straight away happens and you get deleted without really noticing.
And I think with that we've seen all of Buster's PAs, so let's see which ones he gets to use this turn.
Have that quick fast gauge being dropped as well. Spatman will deal with that fan, unfortunately, but there is still that Unboomer, so let's see if it connects. Ooh, element trap will activate, so it looks like unfortunately it will miss. Flop Tart was waiting for the perfect opportunity to use the element sword, but unfortunately was a bit too late and ended up going into the next step for being able to use it.
It is sad, but just like the first round we saw, the Corn Fiesta PA can really just delete 1,000 health in one hit.
Both are playing it patient. Oh, the double Corn Fiesta. Let's see who does more damage though. I think they're actually about to even. That was quite a bit of damage from both sides. I think close to 500 damage from both of them, but now the field is grass and Flop Tart is in Tomahawk Cross, so are we going to see a repeat of what happened in game 1? Though it will be much more painful now.
Just barely dodging. Oh, and a good flash bomb stop too.
Nice. Getting in that damage with Neopar as well.
Flop having a lot of Star Code chips this time, so definitely easy to use Life Aura with them.
Yeah, and it looks like Flop Tart is going with the anti-element as well, though we might end up seeing the interaction where Buster Cannon uses an elemental chip, which activates Flop Tart's anti-element, which activates Buster Cannon anti-element, which removes the life aura. I've had that happen to me, so you never know.
And also keep in mind, charge slots do activate Element Trap.
Oh, there goes that double trap, though. It could be anti-sword from Buster Cannon. I don't think we've seen either of them. Flop Dart uses the area grab before Buster Cannon is able to move, then that will trap Buster Cannon in place, which could be an interesting position. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
That would be fun, but also it looks like Flop Tart's kind of going for a turn where needs to have Buster in the corner, so...
Ooh, Partial does get used, but unfortunately ends up missing into the invis. That's pretty unfortunate. What we're seeing here is basically the impact of Fast Gauge. So Fast Gauge does cut the turn time in half compared to normal. In normal it's about 8 seconds, and Fast Gauge makes it about 4 seconds. So what that means for invis is that invis lasts for 6 seconds, so it can last for a full turn and a bit, which obviously makes it extra strong when you want to get out all of your PAs.
Flop really wants to get rid of that trap, especially because Neovari is in their hand at the moment. It's pretty easy to hit with just 6 tiles, but you never know. It's a bit of a hard one.
Yeah, and we know that wasn't anti-element because obviously that boomer was used as well as Tomahawk Charge Shot. So, element trap is going to activate now, yeah, doing damage and paralysis as well. Area grab coming down, and this should be the circle gun. Let's see if it connects. Nice, it does. Ooh, a second trap though. This one could also be an anti-sword. Nice, using the invis. I think Buster Cannon might be running out of invis, though it's still a very strong tool now, especially since it's stalling out and we still haven't seen the flame hook.
And with that Judge Man, I believe that was Buster's only way to keep his area, so I think he's going to be stuck in the back row until the end of this match.
Ooh, that is a good point. I think Buster Cannon is still in Tengu, so we'll see if he's able to get in a charge shot at least to try to push Flop Tart back. Ooh, nice, does, but yeah, there, yeah. Ooh, it does connect.
Whew. That was a lot of damage. And the time freeze too.
Wait, why did that do more than 500? Did that hit twice? Because that was on a holy pattern, so...
Did the element trap hit at the same time? I'm not sure.
Oh, well, unless I'm miscalculating something, I believe that shouldn't have hit that many times. Ooh, and the bees, ooh, very nice movement from Flop Tart. Almost going into the next turn, and then a Buster shot from Buster Cannon will take us into the match. Oh, wow. That was quite the match. So we already started on one. We've seen 3 of the possible PAs that were in this pool. I think there were at least 2 more. So you've already mentioned the Time Bomb PA, and I believe Wave Arm PA were in as well. So we'll see if we end up seeing them at some point.
Yeah, there's definitely Power Wave. That's a fun one too.
Yeah, well played to both sides. That was a really hype match to see. And speaking of Power Wave, so going into the setups for the next match, it will be Joyce vs Player 0.
All right. So for these two, so we have Player 0 here to tell us about his own folder. He's got a kind of similar Navicust to Flop Tart, having some +2 cust, but also running Rush. We didn't see Rush last game, but a lot of people play it this time around because Invis is your only option for defense here. Well, your main option for defense, and Rush basically stops one of your invisibles from working. But it also can lead to an anger status, which will do two times damage with your next chip if you are in base element Mega Man and you let it go for its entire duration. So I'm sure that will come into play, possibly even with the power wave that Player Zero has Reagan tagged here. And over on, I believe, Josue's side, he has a float shoes, which we haven't seen yet either, I believe. So basically, with all of the ice panels, poison panels, there's a lot of ways to mess with terrain this time around for this pool party, and float shoes is definitely a contender of one of the best Navi cuss parts, in my opinion, for this one in particular. But also has Rush, Undershirt, Custom +1, Charge Max, and Super Armor. I think this is a really clever cust here.
Yeah, being able to fit in quite, decent bit of HP, decent custom, and obviously that float shoot which you mentioned. So I don't believe we saw during the last game, but this pool also had Poison Seed and Ice Seed, as well as the Ice Dragon, which I'm running all of those. So these float shoes can be quite a bit of value, and obviously we'll see how it affects the match.
Yeah, so looking at the folders, so we already mentioned the Power Wave, but Zero's running kind of a P-code core here with Aqua Dragons, Golem Hits, a Circle Gun, and a Big Bomb. A lot of one-off chips, but there is the possibility for a Freeze Break combo in there. And then some Element Traps, Anti-Sword, which we saw last time, and some defense with Sanctuary and Life Aura.
Yeah, in terms of the build, I think it wasn't too out there basically, so I just looked at the pool, saw what chips looked fun to use, and added Neobar as well, so because it's obviously the most fun to use. And that's why I ended up with it.
That sounds strikingly familiar to every other folder you make.
Sometimes creativity just hits differently, you never know. But well, moving on, so looking at Jose's folder, so we see that V-code, which is pretty good code this cycle. So it has 3 Risky Honeys, 2 Big Bombs, the Golem Heads, Circle Guns, and the Lance to help set everything up basically.
Yeah, and you also see the Navi +20, which is a fun chip to use. It'll get some value off of Spout Man, but maybe not too much else. We also see Slash Man. I like all these Navis that Josue has. Slash Man is a fun one to deal with Tengu, and can do a lot of damage with area. We see they have 3 area grabs. And then, yeah, just the V-code core and some defense.
Yeah, so as a side note for the Navi +20, I'm not sure if Jose thought that it does apply to the Slashman Kunais and Judgment books, which unfortunately it does not. So the only thing that boosts these two are the 2x from Full Synchro or Anger. I think it would have been a lot more fun if maybe just Navi +20 did instead of all of the other plus chips, but well, here we are. So we'll see how much value that Navi +20 is going to get. Alright, and with that I believe that's everything. Let's head into the match and see how it plays out. Alright, so we see an interesting starting field. So we have the poison field with a bit of a grass, and Jose is already starting with 2 of their bees, but they might want to hold on to them. So as Shadow explained during the last match, which Buster Cannon also had bees in. Bees can be a very, very effective way at blocking anti-element, so we'll see how that plays during this match. Alright, looks like they are staying in base Mega Man. I don't think we've explained it, but Jose does have 5 colors in their Navicast, and that gives them access to the color bug, which, as you can see here, both sides have it, and Jose end up getting the best of the 4 options you could get, which is the green invis, which makes you basically invulnerable to everything.
And it looks like you also have the bug, but you got confused. So that means that all of your directional keys are backwards, which can cause some confusion. Although it does seem like you waited out the invis and got that anger status. So let's see what you're able to do the next turn. It seems like Josue's going for some defense in Risky Honeys, but doesn't have much else in his hand.
Yeah, we do see that trap as well, so we do know that's an element trap. Could potentially make quite a bit of a difference. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. Ooh, these one of them does connect. Let's see if that lance does. Ooh, nearby goes through. I think, yeah, that was one hit.
Ooh, and the cheeky lance right before the fanfare. This is a really close match so far. HP's very similar.
Yeah, that fanfare wasn't able to survive for that long, and we're back to where we are. And now Jose does have their own poison field, so we did have partial poison starts, and they are looking to fill the field with poison, which will really add up.
Well, until you use Beast Out.
Yeah. So one of the abilities in Falzar Beast Outs that it gets air shoes and float shoes.
And we see that power wave land too.
So Jose's basically, so this format is also public setup, which means that we both know what each other play, so you see Jose stepping on the grass field to get advantage of that recovery, since they know they don't have to be scared of any fire chips, since I obviously don't run any. Area grab exchange does happen, and this invis will probably go into rush. Oh wait, rush was already there.
I think he used it at the start with the green and Volm.
That would make sense. Ooh, that Golem does connect.
That was a really, really good timing too, on the flashing. Oh, and the D-cross.
And a buster shot. Now we're starting with permaholds in the middle of the field, and actually, interestingly enough, pretty similar start for Jose. So they have both bees, they have an area grab and an invis as well.
Well, to be fair, even if the turn he would have died on the poison. Oh, and another green and Volm. That's a good start.
Alright, area grab exchange does happen, so let's see if that Tomahawk will connect. Ooh, looks like it does, nice. Ooh, and we see that there, so now we know that was an anti-element because Beast was on the field and the anti-element just disappeared. Ooh, Jose's getting both of their big bombs, but unfortunately because of that permahull, they wouldn't be able to throw it in the middle, so they're going to need to do a bit more of lining up. Actually, do you want to go through and explain what permahulls are, since I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with them?
Sure. So They're a certain type of stage. There's a couple different placements for them. This is kind of the more difficult one, especially if you're trying to use Power Wave, but wow, there you go. But so each stage is different, and a permahole means that the hole cannot be fixed in any way, not with Sanctuary, not with Panel Return or anything. And it's just going to be there. It's going to stop area grabs. You can't put... it can stop a lot of navies if you stand behind it.
We see Rush activating on Tomahawk, so Tomahawk has status guard, Rush removes Invis and applies paralysis, but because of the status guard, there is no paralysis. Ooh, Circle Gun gets blocked by the Invis, and okay, at least it does connect, so better than nothing. Ooh, Risky Honey waiting for the Buster Shots. Nice,
Good to
playing it
see
very
that.
patient.
Oh, I was thinking there might be a Tomahawk Beast Charge, but Spout is a good way to block it too.
Looks like now Jose does have the fan, though I don't think they'll be able to use the fan quite in time for all of these bees to connect.
Yeah, there is no banish in this pool, so unfortunately the bees are left to their own devices to try and find and home in on their enemies.
2x Lance does connect, there's Judgment coming down in retaliation, which will remove the Empress and regain the area back. Ooh, Tomahawk does go down.
Flash Bomb will stop any defense. Doesn't look like Josue has any. Oh, and see, here we go. Permahole stopping Slash Man.
And now we see that Sanctuary is the only defense Jose has, so this could be a bit rough in terms of survivability, though I'm not too sure what else I had in hand at this point. I think I might have already used most of my folder.
Well, hey, if you stand behind the wind, but if you're going Dust...
Oh, okay, so looks like Dust Man will do the job.
Oh, Dust for the win!
Alright, we're going into game 3, so we see that starting Invis that Jose has rigged, and they also have Area Grab and Tomahawk Man. Looks like that's their lucky start.
Let's see what bug they start with. If it's Green and Vulm again, then I want some of his luck.
There it is! So when I was playing this match, I was like, there's no way they'll start with Green and Vulnerability again, and they did indeed start with it again, so the 3 times did happen. Oh, nice, and connecting with that column hit as well, doing 1000 damage already in turn 1.
Yeah, it's especially nice to use Tomahawk Man as a Navi because he does not cause flashing. You can really follow up immediately.
Yeah, and you see there, I took the Neovar at that time because I was expecting, I thought there's no way they'd get Green Invis again. So they'll use Rush, they'll be paralyzed, and I can get the easy confirm, but looks like that didn't quite work out.
And a nice block, and we saw the hint of the big bomb coming out, and that'll do 30 more damage because of Beast Out as well.
So Invis is coming down, so that does block it, and I mean, I think you mentioned it there, but the Spouseman destroying the Flashman was also a very nice play.
Both players just kind of dancing around, but they're at very similar health now. Going for a full field Slash Man. So each kunai does, I believe it's 20 damage at the base level. And if you have, you know, all of these panels, you get 60 more damage per row, or per column. And an immediate answer to the Sanctuary, too.
Yeah, so that is one of the nice things about all of these seeds, that they can basically deal with Sanctuary and make it more difficult for the opponent to move. The Ooh, looks like that was an anti-sword, which is why that final slash from Slashman got blocked. One of the holy panels getting destroyed by that Dustman, though now we see that Jose does have both circle guns, which interestingly enough in this field arrangement they can hit twice in the middle. Since the way it loops, it covers 4 panels, so if you have +2 area, then you can make it hit the opponent twice.
Just don't go into Duskgrass and you'll be fine.
And yeah, so Buster Cannon in chat is saying anti-sword doesn't block the kunais. Yeah, so kunais are actually null element, which is very good news for Tengu Cross.
And that power wave just barely making it onto the holy panel to stop would have almost been deleted.
Ooh, very nice, and Jose is able to line up that Dustman to do the object damage as well, and getting in 2 chargers. Ooh, the second charger ending at the very end of the swing. So in this position, if I decide to go into Tengu Cross to deal with that life aura, then I will be immediately decrossed. So this is actually very nice timing, I have to say. So in this position, just considering what chips I have in hand, I don't quite remember, but keep in mind that these holy panels are also a big issue, because holy panels do affect life aura, meaning that it can need 400 damage for it to be destroyed.
And we see the circle gun come out, but unfortunately the life aura was there first.
I see it being dropped to deal with these holy panels, though obviously they don't do any impact damage, and there goes that double exchange, but this time both players are losing life aura from the element trap, so this is an even more this is an extreme version of what we saw last game.
And the D-Cross comes out too. Unfortunately, there wasn't 2 hits on the back row, but it still helps.
Ooh, now Jose is going into Beast out, going with the wood heavy fall, with the wood heavy turn, with the bees into wind and land. So if all of that connects, that can be very easy game as well.
Both players have lost almost all of their defense too by now. It's been pretty far into the match. We've seen Life Aura, we've seen Sanctuary, and we've seen a couple Invis, so they're both kind of duking it out right now.
Ooh, Fanfare being dropped. And the trap, though, it could be anti-sword. I don't think Jose still has any of their sword chips. Ooh, was an anti-element, but it gets blocked by these bees.
And it's also good to note that a lot of people don't have too many buster stats, so a Fanfare on a Sanctuary, while maybe not too impressive in regular play, is very difficult to deal with here.
And I mean, we do see those bees in hand, and so one thing to keep in mind is that bees only hit objects once instead of the normal 5 hits that they do to players. So if a bees gets used to deal with that Fanfare, then unfortunately it would be very not effective, basically. Wouldn't be very effective. Ooh, Golem hit does connect, but it's still at 5 HP. Poison panel does tick.
Oh, and we're right at the end of the folder too. Oh, just take the Navi plus 20 with the Judge Man. The poor Navi enough plus 20.
So one thing that we saw during that last turn is that during the green invis from Fanfare, poison panels don't tick through. So that's going to affect if I decide to. I still have the option to go into Beast Over or take whatever chips I had left, which I'm not sure I had many left. So we'll see how it ends up playing out.
Oh, the Judgment gets blocked.
And that fanfare does get destroyed. 2 HP, let's see if they can avoid it. Very close to surviving into the turn, but Beast Over will end up closing that match with the feather shots, taking us into the game.
Wow, just barely had maybe 2 seconds left on the cust gauge, but man, that was really close.
Yeah, so Beast Over uses chips randomly, which obviously is why we saw that poor Judgeman missing, and then it tries to use Buster Shot. So I believe that Judgeman was my actual last chip. But yeah, that was very well played, and in fact, I believe this is Jose's first tournament they joined. So they already have very strong showing. So very well played, and glad to have you in.
Lots of potential. Taking a set, almost 2 off the last Moon champion.
Yeah, well played. And with that, let's look at the setups for our next match with Shadow vs Sharon and Ip.
Alright, so for this match, we have myself and Sharona. So, Shadow, me, my Navicust is mostly just health and float shoes. It gets all the essentials in and gives you a 1600 buffer. Not too much to talk about. We've seen the strength of float shoes in the last match and how Poison Seed really hurt. And you know, I think float shoes is really useful here. And in Sharona's, we have a bit more of an interesting cust. We have a lot of bugs. We have a double color bug, which will last, over a turn if they get Invuln or Invis. And we also have Poem, which gives you the humor bug, emotion bug, which randomly cycles you through different emotion states. So there's a chance that you'll get anger, a chance that you'll get full sync, which both do 2 times damage, and then you also have a chance to be tired, a chance to be normal, and a chance to be very tired, which stops you from beasting out.
So we look at the build now. So starting with Sharon, we do see that time bomb PA. So looks like this is going to be the match. We'll see if they end up. I think it's going to be a pretty uphill battle to try to get that stick, especially with the emotion bug, which obviously Sharon is trying to go for that 2x. But other things they're running, so they have Tengu, Blast, and Judgment EX, which are all very solid options, as well as 3 machine guns too. So obviously Dust Frost is a very big threat, especially for that PA.
Yeah, and a good thing to note about the PA is that it has a ton of health. I believe it's 200 health in the PA version of the time bomb. So you either have to be in dust or you have to have an invis to stop it. And it's also good to note that Sharona is in Gregar. I don't know if we've seen Gregar yet, but they have attack +1, which is bugged, so they'll have a buster bug. But also they have 3 buster ups, so they'll be at attack 4 by the end and attack 5 in heat. So they have a way to deal with Life Aura in Heat Beast if it comes to it.
So I think these buster ups are very interesting. So unfortunately there isn't bug stop being used, so you wouldn't be able to get the maximum value out of the buster bugs. But it's still a pretty interesting choice, especially as we all know that Gregar has very powerful charge ups.
And I think it's a good time to also note that you see a lot of these EX navies, it's because the non-EX version weren't available in the pool. So you have a bit of alphabet soup on both players' navi choices, because there just wasn't any available in Star Code, but it still has the only way to grab back area with Judge Man, a really strong life aura removal with Tengu, and one of the few checks to T-Hawk in Blast Man EX.
So looking at Shadow's build, so your build, we see that you're running quite different number of things. So we do see that Corn Fiesta as well. We have the normal invis, area grabs. We see 3 boomers and the 2 census trees. So I think that's going to be a very interesting play option. So one of the things I believe, I don't think Buster can use that actually, but one of the plays that you can do with it is put sensor in the middle, basically force the opponent to step into the perfect range for Boomer, and then ideally you would go into Tomahawk, chip charge them for 2x damage, and that would do massive damage if you can land even one of them in one time.
Yeah, there's a lot of area control between boomers and sensors, and the fact that they're both in the same code and at the max level, really interesting. We almost never get to see I code played out, just because there's almost nothing in the I code. But when I saw it, I had to give it a shot. A lot of the other things in the folder are really just checks to crosses, so Machgun 2 stopping dust and any traps, as well as element sword and neo variable to deal with Tengu.
Yeah, I believe that's pretty much everything for the setups. Let's head into the match and see who gets their PA first, I guess.
Let's do it.
Alright, so we see the custom 5 from Shadow. I believe that's the lowest custom we've seen until now, so we'll see if Shadow ends up struggling with that. In standard builds, custom 5 can be a bit rough, but obviously there is Dust Cross now, and yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Shadow does have the 2 area grabs in hand, anti-element, and the invis. So Sharon doesn't have brush, so there is no need for Shadow to worry about that.
Shona also has 3 mech guns, so it is going to be rough if you're trying to use Dust at the start, or if you're trying to use Dust to check that time bomb. We see the mech gun come out right there with a humor proc, so we'll see how many. Oh, and another one.
So seeing Sharona starting with that green invis, which, as you mentioned during setups, in level 2 color bug that lasts for a bit over a turn, which that is going to be very big. Getting a free turn at the start with nothing to worry about and just fishing for these 2x procs for free is very big for sure.
And ending the turn with a flash bomb there is really rough, because you're not able to start the turn with an invis, and you're probably just going to have to leave the other invis that was from the first turn.
Shadow is still considering taking, and looks like that's going to be the play. Ooh, time bomb plus coming down, and invis being used in TFC. The invis in the TFC should be more than long enough to work, yeah. Okay, so I wasn't too sure if time bomb plus was one of the PAs that had different levels, or if it was all going into time bomb plus. Looks like it all was, so that was potential 700 damage, or with the 2x 1400 damage that could connect.
And yeah, that's most people's full HP in this format, so gotta have a way to deal with it.
Jose is asking in YouTube chat how much HP does Time Bomb Plus, and I believe it's 200 HPs, which is quite a lot in a format with no one running buster stats and not that many damaging chips. That's basically life aura in terms of the HP, or barrier 200 would be more accurate.
You can see there's not a lot to use, but since we've seen Time Bomb come out, Dustman can be used freely.
We also already saw that Blast Man EX already getting used, so there is no real risk for that. Come on. Sanctuary, and Shadow still has no way of dealing with the Sanctuary. This is looking slightly rough, though. At least with an airy grab, maybe Shadow will be able to connect that to X lines. Just barely missing out on that 2x, and I believe that was the final of the 2x. I mean, that was the final of the machine guns. Ooh, and you saw that tank connects. Nice. Now, Sharona is especially trapped in place. They aren't really able to use their area that well.
Yeah, still kind of not getting a lot of chips to use this last 2 turns, but do get a little bit of chip damage from T-Hawk slashes.
Sharona might be holding on to Invis since we already saw a second. We already saw the second 2x proc being wasted. Oh wow! Double tank cannon into a machine gun. Unfortunately, all of them missing.
Just a lot of angry guns here at the end of the turn. Finally seeing that in-boomer to deal with Sanctuary too.
Life Aura, the Boomer is a perfect time. It will deal with both the Sanctuary and the Holy. So the Life Aura and the Sanctuary. I think in terms of changing panels, the way Boomer works is that it changes the panel before, actually after it hits, so that wouldn't have gone through. I'm not too sure.
I believe it's after the hit as well, but I can't be certain.
Yeah, it should be written in the guide. When we see that Corn Fiesta, though, the D-Cross does come out. Ooh, TFC, nice. Let's see how many hits. Ooh, pretty good. That's not bad. Doing about 600 damage.
Dealt with one of the holy panels, but there's still one left.
And these boomers will probably deal with it very quickly as well. And it would be actually a trap for Sharon to stay in that one panel. So this is one of the things people have to keep in mind when they're playing, is that if you have a position like this where you want to stay in one panel, you still want to vary your movement so your opponent doesn't get free hits on you in that one panel. Let's see, the breath does barely miss as well. Ooh, Judgeman will connect though, doing the D-Cross.
Saving him from being decrossed from heat too. This is a really strong turn.
Ooh, counter it! Oh, nice! And now that will take us into the game 2. So now we see Shadow struggling a bit more with the start, I'd say. So having 3 different codes in hand, and he doesn't really want to use both of these boomers, especially since they could be wasted with this field. Oh wow, time bomb plus turn 1 comes down for that green invisible last quit. Ooh.
Just barely not enough, and Sharona was blind and had no idea what was happening here either, or that I had green and Vuln, so perfect timing on their part.
That timing. That was very, very close. Very nice. And now, nice being patient on that defense, using the Invis to block The Plasma 2x Wu and Machine Gun comes down. We still don't know which trap Sharona has, and unfortunately Shadow is unable to get out his anti-sword. Actually, never mind, Sharona only has that one element trap, so we do know which one it is. So Shadow will want to have good defense or remove it with an anti-damage. I mean with the machine gun. So double invis will make that more difficult, though I believe Shadow might end up having a bit of time before the turn ends to deal with that trap with the machine gun. Not quite. This is a 5-code hand. This is actually very rough. Though it looks like Shadow is deciding for the Life Aura instead of the Sanctuary or the Judgment to try to regain area. I don't think Sharona plays many sword chips, but they do have Slashman and the two Slashman and the Slash Cross. So going with defense was the correct play.
Yeah, and there's no Golem hits in Shadow's folder to deal with this Slash Man, so I think the only option is to cross out here.
But going into Dust could be risky if Sharona has a way to deal with that Life Aura, then using a machine gun could be pretty painful. But do keep in mind that now that Sharona is in a cross, they don't have access to the emotion button. It goes away when going into a cross or Beast out.
So we see a bit of a weird turn here. Sharona doesn't want to get hit or decrossed, and Shadow doesn't want to step down for fear of Tengu removing their Life Aura.
Yeah, and I believe that was still the 2x element trap, so if Shadow has to use that Judgment, then unfortunately that Life Aura will go into the element trap. I think the play there could have been to try to bait Sharona into using the Tengu Man stepping down and up, but do keep in mind, I don't think we mentioned it, this match was being played at around 50% connection, so trying to rely on something execution heavy would be pretty risky, I'd say. Yeah, there is that 2x element trap dealing with that Life Aura. Now Sharona did use all of their buster ups, so I believe they are at attack 5.
Going into Elec is a bit of a hard call here. It's hard because there's boomers which will decross and remove the holy panels, but Sharona also needs a way to get rid of the holy panels on my side too. So we might see a beast out here in a chip charge.
Looks like that is the play, though. I was obviously really hoping for that PA dream on. Ooh, nice, avoiding the Amboomer. And yeah, destroying most of these holy panels, and unfortunately Shadow... Oh, actually, never mind, Shadow has float shoes. I was going to say he's going to be stuck with these cracked panels, but the float shoes deal with that very nicely.
Yeah, we definitely see a lot of interesting play with a limited Navicust. Elec Beast chip charge is basically just a mini Geddon.
Slashman is coming out, that will connect. And Shadow's HP is going down very quickly, and Sharona still has most of their HP, I'd say. Dodging both the machine gun and the lance. Doesn't seem like they have anything to chip charge. Okay, which makes sense. They were holding onto that Life Aura. This is starting to look like a pretty difficult position for Shadow. I don't think you have any good way of dealing with the Holy Panel and Sanctuary. So if Sharona isn't afraid of being hit and basically stays on these holy panels, then they'll be able to avoid the ambush. And the D cross. Things are looking very difficult. And Shadow is unfortunately unable to take that PA. Oh no, losing the element trap into the same bug, I guess, or glitch that Antinami has. And the machine gun will take us to a game 3.
Yeah, a lot of great ways to remove Sanctuary from the corners, but no way to remove it from the middle, so definitely had a bit of an issue there. maybe a fire burn would have helped, but good match.
We are starting with this cubes field, and looks like Shadow will try to go for Dust Cross. Let's see if the Invis comes first, and it does. That was actually very close, because with the color bug that Shadow ended up getting, he got Invis, and he got confused, which made him step down instead of up, and the machine gun starts hitting at the bottom panel, so it would have connected if Sharona had.
Right, well that was a pretty brutal first turn. From 1600 to 1040 health. Especially with that Slash Man humor proc, it doubles the damage of the kunais and the last hit of Slash Man, dealing a lot of damage, even if a small amount of area.
And the counters as well, so that denied the Neophy. How very unfortunate.
Just not quite fast enough with the input to get rid of the bomb and do the hit.
But we do see that PA looks like Shadow will try to maximize the damage a bit more, trying to get advantage of these grass panels, the 2x plasma. One of the advantages of using the PA is that it does take up 3 spots out of 5, so that's more than half of your hand just being used for these tips. And that machine gun out into that tank cannon, nice. Connecting these tank cannons is always fun, though I'm sure it's not as fun for Shadow. Another defensive turn. So what Shadow's doing there is probably waiting for Sharona to use most, if not all, of their invis, so they wouldn't be able to TFC or block the Corn Fiesta. Ooh, and dealing with the Sanctuary as well, so Shadow's doing pretty well by waiting actually. And yeah, there it goes. But Shadow does have no defense, and Sharona is ending on a full synchro, so Sharona is able to match something out very quickly. They might be able to do quite a bit of damage with whatever they have. And it looks like it was a machine gun. Ooh, Corn Fiesta does land. Nice. Quite a bit of damage. I think it's around 600-700 damage.
Yeah, I think Sharona was at 13 or 1400, and it also dealt with almost all of the Sanctuary, leaving a good one square to get hit by a Mega Boomer in the future.
And in fact, I think that was exactly the same panel that survived Corn Fiesta in Game 1. So maybe there is something to look into there, who knows? Ooh, very nice. So Shadow trying to get the timing, waiting out Sharona, and they lose their final hologram. And they are in Tomahawk Cross, so yeah, these Amboomers can be very scary, and this field also allows for the Element Sword. But that being said, Shadow does have these different codes in hand, so he wouldn't be able to take more than 2 chips this time.
Yeah, it definitely was a bit of soup, but sometimes you just gotta let the heart of the chips decide what you do every turn.
I mean, Shadow does know that Sharona went into a lake, very likely going into a East out next time to deal with these Sanctuary units. So he's probably going to try to get the punish as much as possible. But if Sharona plays it very carefully, they might be able to avoid the D-cross, so we'll see if it connects. And they have a life aura, so that makes it even more difficult. Unfortunately, yeah, there goes avoiding the Boomer as well.
So a couple options here for getting rid of life aura. We have Element Sword, we have Blast Man EX, and we have Tengu. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
I don't think he uses Tengu Cross, which would be an interesting play to try to get the Lance D Cross from Tengu Cross. So I wonder if that could have been another option.
Ooh, charge shot? That would, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Sharon's playing very patient, breaking panels, nice. So, Flow Shoes does protect from cracked panels, but not broken panels.
Yeah, doing some good footsies to not get hit by the T-Hawk charge. And also not getting hit by the Lance.
Ooh, and now going into fire, so that might be one of the ways Sharon ends up going for to deal with the Holy Panel, I mean with the Life Aura. I think EX fortunately misses. And there goes that chip charge, though it will activate the anti-element, which on grass does 2x damage. 4 HP, let's see if they survive. Oh, that will finish off the match.
Oh wow, that was a real nail-biter.
Yeah, that was very close at the end there. That 2x element trap was very big. Sharona was doing pretty well trying to avoid all of the potential risks, but Shadow was able to sneak in enough hits over time to basically come back into the game. And obviously, we saw how much of an impact that Core Fiesta was playing. It's actually quite a bit of damage if it connects.
It is. It's a good amount of damage. It takes rid of Sanctuary, and it really scares Electros. And I believe Sharona said that after we fought that Time Bomb was in their hand for the next turn, so it was really, really close.
Yeah, well played to both sides. That was quite the match, and we see that thumbnail with the big difference in HP. But yeah, well played. And with that, let's head into the next match with Buster Cannon vs Master 6. People were saying they were looking for more Gregor, and looks like we do have more Gregor indeed. So we start with the Navicast. You can see that they are playing an interesting option. So going with shield, a bit of HP, super armor, and one attack with the Master Uptake, correct? Double tag that was.
Yeah, and you know, I am the biggest fan of shield. I am always excited to see shield be used in any format. But yeah, so we have a lot of the same navies we've seen before. Tengu, Blast, Judge, opting not to go for any of the star navies on Master 6's side. The Buster Ups and one of each trap, and the Firehook PA too, but it's not ranked or tagged, so with a 5 custom slot, we'll see if it ever gets any play. And the Fast Gauge as well.
So one option that Gregor has in terms of their custom is that they can go into Charge Cross. What Charge Cross does is that it gives +1 custom each turn, and I believe wouldn't Charge Cross would actually, I'm not too sure, would it work with the Fire Hit PA? Can you increase the damage through that?
I believe so. It's not a time freeze, is it?
It isn't, but I think there was something with PAs not being able to get boosted or something like that.
That's fair. Yeah. I don't know. That's the end of my knowledge.
And on the other side, we see the Buster Cannon. So we've already seen Buster Cannon play in our first match. We saw that number open, which now we see in its full glory, the Navicast, and the 3 different PAs. So looks like it's going to be a punches match. Both sides are running the Firehead PA, and we'll see who ends up getting more value out of it.
Yeah, it might come down to some fisticuffs at the end. And, you know, again, that Risky Honey will stop the Element Trap. And we see a lot of ways to decross Feltzer from Master 6 as well, including the Element Sword, 2 of them, 3 Mac Guns, and the Judge Man, and the Blast Man. So a lot of ways to stop Feltzer in his tracks here.
Alright, with all of that out of the way, let's head into the match and see how it plays out. So we do see that custom 10, which is something very rarely seen in PvP. I believe it's not as bad in PvE, so you can use it in the story, but PvP doesn't get used much. And we see Buster Cannon starting with the fast gauge straight away into Anti-Sword and Sensor.
A nice hit from Sensor into Dustman does a lot of damage.
Unfortunately, yeah, the one panel that Buster Cannon could have been in, he was, and avoided the Element Sword. And looks like there it is. That's the Corn Fiesta PA already. So that's the best part. I mean, the only good part about number open is that you get a third of your folder in your starting hand, which does make it more likely than usual to get PAs. And there goes that Fiesta. Ooh, that's actually pretty low number of hits compared to what we've seen today.
Yeah, we really do need to test that a little bit. I think if they're pretty far away, it seems to hit a little less, but I feel like we've also seen it hit like 10 times in the back corner as well, so...
Very nice use of Element Trap to deal with, very nice use of Beast to deal with the Element Trap. Ooh, and Shield blocking most of those, I believe. Time kind of ends up missing, and yeah, fast gauge very affects the turn pace very much so, and we see both players basically going out and using a lot of their chips. Buster Cannon started with a lot less HP, and now he is ahead, so we'll see how Master 6 ends up playing into it. Flashbomb come down, unfortunately missing the shield. Nice, getting that connection with the nearby.
He was able to remove the trap with the machine gun right at the end there, so turn was not for nothing, but he did end up eating quite a bit without that shield.
Yeah, so at the end of turn, Master 6 used machine gun, and since Buster Cannon doesn't have super armor, he is flinching, and he's considering going into ground cross, which gives super armor. But unfortunately, ground cross gets decrossed by a machine gun, so looks like Buster Cannon is going to switch crosses in Spout, which should allow him to hopefully avoid at least one of the hits that could come out. Ooh, looks like
they both cross.
Crosses, yeah. Let's see if the flame hook connects on grass though. Even if it doesn't, that's still good damage. Ooh, there it goes.
Going into Spout Cross really helps with the ice panels, because he does not have anything other than number open in his Navicast. Helps him align it to hit with the flame hook.
Now, so Master 6 isn't running Rush, so Buster Cannon doesn't have to worry about that when using his defense. And he only needs to get in that single Buster Shot, so let's see if Master 6 is able to survive at least a bit more. Don't forget that single invis. Oh wow, getting the Iron Shell delete, nice. To see that start with the rock cubes on the field again. So Master 6 is running 3 machine guns, which seems to be a popular option that people decide to go for. That means, yeah, so Buster Cannon is avoiding going into Dust Cross because he doesn't want to get decrossed. And the double fast gauge coming down. Barely missing out.
If they don't go into Dust Cross, expect the Dust Man.
Yeah, I don't think I had it happen to me in any of my matches, but I'm really looking forward to seeing if Dust Cross uses back B to take in objects, and while they are in the air, would Dustman be able to take them in?
I am gonna guess no, but I don't. You know, I don't know. Sometimes this format brings up the weirdest questions.
Unfortunately, Buster Cannon ends up missing with that new variant. We saw there's something interesting.
You had the slide. You just needed to use the back B. It's close.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. I actually missed that. We managed to connect that sensor as well. And there goes that Corn Fiesta. Let's see how many hits. Again, doing less than 300 damage. That's pretty low.
Yeah, that was a sad Fiesta, but you know, we see him move back to the back row, not taking too much damage, avoiding the Golem hit, and having some Bs, some defensive turn.
Ooh, nice being able to connect that Dustman on that sensor as well. And if people notice, that sensor changed color as well, so it doesn't take in the level 2 one. And very nice use of shield as well from Master 6. So Jose in chat is asking, in YouTube chat, asking, does the damage from obstacle do the same as Dustman chip, since Dust Cross always does 200? And the answer to that is yes, they also do 200. And ooh, we saw that PA.
I think the shield stopped a hit? That was interesting. Maybe it was just a Buster Shot.
I think it was Buster Shot, because wouldn't the PA be breaking as well?
That's what I'm thinking.
Ooh, oh! Counter it though, that. Oh no!
Oh my god, that was almost the dream, right? A times 2 flame hook PA that gets a counter hit.
Yeah, so
yeah, no, explain it.
yeah, basically the way flame hook works is that it can potentially hit twice, 2 panels in front of where Mega Man is, but the first hit applies flashing. So the first hit comes through, applies flashing, the second hit misses and doesn't do much. But if you can get a counter hit with it in that exact position, then the first hit will give the counter hit, which paralyzes the opponent and doesn't apply flashing, which allows the second hit to connect, which would have been massive damage and maybe even enough to bring back the game. But unfortunately, that flash bomb closed that out at the very end.
Yeah, just one panel away from certain destruction with a double damage flame hook PA at the end. That was great.
Yeah, well played. And again, another, I believe, new player is Master 6. I don't think they've really joined in previous New Moons, though they have been playing in the matchmaking channel. So you can see that they've been putting in that practice.
Definitely.
All right. And with that, let's look at the setups for our next match, which with two players that we haven't seen the stream so far. Actually, we did see Floptart in the first match, but it's Das vs Floptart.
All right, so here we have Das. We've already looked at Floptart's Navicoast. It was just a solid, really solid custom plus build. Some decent health, undershirt, +3 best. Das, we have a bit of less HP, but a really balanced build here with charge, rush, float shoes, and custom +1. I think we've seen a similar Navicust from someone else early on the stream, but this is what I would say is probably the most balanced cust you have in this this format at the moment.
I think Jose was running something similar, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, that float shoe is, as you mentioned, and as we've seen already in the last two matches, actually in Shadow vs Sharona and Jose vs Player Zero, so it can be very big.
Definitely. And just with the amount of ice panels that seem to be running around rampant in this tournament, you know, float shoes can really help, as well as spout cross, stopping that sliding from being on ice panels.
And looks like Das is also going for that Corn Fiesta. Looks like Corn Fiesta was the people's favorite in terms of which PA to run, which it's understandable. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. It does some damage. It removes some panels. It sets up for some fire, which is probably how Das is going to be using it with those Fireburn 3s. It seems that they have some fire damage and Corn Fiesta, as well as the Macgun 2 and E-Code, which will really help him as Gregar against Falzar, able to defeat both Dust Cross and Ground Cross with that Macgun cursor damage.
Yeah, there is a question in YouTube chat, so asking why none of the players are running Giga Chips. So this format is called Pool Party, which is a bit of a unique format where people are given a limited number of chips, and Giga Chips and SP Mega Chips are removed from the pool since they are too strong. And the other main thing to notice is the Navicust. So you see everyone's running limitation is running by the limitation of 5x5 in the Navicust, and that's one of the other rules as well.
Yeah, so you see, a lot of otherwise kind of fun things become very competitive in a format where you have a bit less HP and the chips across the board are a little bit strange. You see Corn Fiesta becoming, a closer for some of these people. And, otherwise, Das has Fanfare, Area Grabs, Poison Seed, which is a really cool way to deal with Sanctuary as well. And just kind of those Navi core that we've seen a lot of people play, the Tengu, the Blast, and the Judge, even all being different codes, as well as Spout to either freeze with all these ice panels or deal with Gregar's favorite charge and heat crosses.
And with that, I believe let's head into the match, see how it all plays out. This is going to be another Gregar vs Falzar, yeah?
I'm just excited for the potential of another Corn Fiesta, Time Freeze Corn Fiesta.
These are pretty fun to see. Though I think personally my favorite interaction is double life or a double element trap, dealing with both life auras at the same time. That was quite something.
And we really see the value of float shoes here on this stage.
Yeah, so I was just exactly going to mention that. So having ice seeds and that permahole as well. So Flop-Tarts might be tempted to go into Sprout Cross just to deal with these ice seeds. So it looks like they are staying in base Mega Man. Ooh, and maybe that's why. So there is the rush activating, but they wouldn't be able to take in that PA this turn because obviously it's multi-coded, so they can't use it.
Ooh. Just barely missing the input for that Neo variable times 2. I think another important thing to say here is Gregor gets a huge boost to those machine gun 2s with a race cross. It adds 30 damage to each hit, almost doubling the base damage of the chip. Oh, and there's the Chrome Fiesta.
Oh wow, that was quite a bit of damage as well. Very nice. Oh, and the air grab Berlin missing on being able to trap Flop-Tart. But at least Dustman does connect. Now, Flop-Tart is a bit stuck with all of these broken panels, so they need to navigate pretty carefully to avoid being hit, which they have done very nicely. Looks like Dust taking a bit more of a defensive turn, going with that fanfare, which can be pretty nice if Flop-Tart doesn't go into Dust Cross, which looks like they are going into Tomahawk. Ooh, Element Sword. Never expect that Element Sword to come out. Nice, last one. Then the Flash Bomb will remove the Invis as well. Oh, not quite in time for the Element Trap. The second Element Sword. And Buster Shot will finish off. Nice.
That was a hot and heavy last round. Remove the fanfare that was otherwise pretty safe from Flop-Tart being trapped with those holes. And an immediate heat cross, so not charge this time, but heat. Let's see how that goes for Daz.
Okay, so Heat Cross gives +1 to Buster stats, which in normal PvP we don't really see, but in this format, since almost no one is running attack max, it takes up so much space, we'll see an effect here. And there is that fire burn, so grass panels and Tomahawk Cross that could actually be very massive damage. Ooh, the Element Trap though, because of the fan, interestingly enough, that doesn't do 2x damage on Daz. Let's see the barely missing. That's pretty unfortunate.
We'll surely see Flop-Tart get out of T-Hawk for this round, right?
Yeah, I mean, they already saw one of the fire burns that does run 3 of them, so they can be pretty scary, especially in E-Code.
Well, let's see if the second one hits.
Ooh, and Boomer misses. Element Sword also misses, and the dodge, very nice. No, why? So
Use the charge!
Yeah, should have just used the charge shot. That would have done the D-Cross and way more damage compared to just Dustman.
Does create a hole at least, which might be helpful.
Oh yeah, actually, since we're going to see Poison Seed this turn, if it does land, this is one of the interesting properties that seeds have, is that if you throw them on a broken panel, they don't do anything, they just go away. But if you throw them on a fixed panel that is surrounded by a broken panel, then the broken panel will be replaced by the type of the seed you throw. So if Daz throws Poison Seed and the sticks, then these broken panels will change into poison. Just something to keep in mind. Hotman does connect, will do a bit of damage, not bad as DFC.
they were both able to avoid the D-Cross. No Spout land into heat.
Ooh, and the counter.
You'd love to see a Poison Seed counter hit.
Going into Beast Out with that Corn Fiesta. Ooh, let's see if it connects. This, in theory, could be enough for game. I think, actually. I'm not too... What's the limit? I don't actually know.
I want to say it's 14, but I am also not certain on that. You'd have to have some pretty insane luck, though.
Ooh,
Oh, and there we go.
The double Fiesta, let's see. Ooh, but look, I think it does end up getting a bit more from the exchange. And the recovery from Grass Panels is actually pretty decent. So one interesting thing to note about that is that the recovery from Grass Panels decreases as your HP gets lower. So they clearly learned from the previous games where Tomahawk, I think it was Tomahawk, or one of the grass souls or crosses, whatever they were called, was basically keeping people alive infinitely.
Oh yeah, that was rough. I think, what was it, Wood Soul?
Sanctuary being dropped, so both sides taking a bit more defense, though I guess in terms of the traps in this pool, you can't really call them defense, since it's more likely than not that it's an element trap. And the exchange, Confuse makes it a bit difficult for Dust to connect these buster shots. Let's see if they'll actually do it. Ooh,
The invis.
very nicely timed, just barely surviving. They need to be careful about not stepping into the poison seed accidentally though.
Getting a little bit of health back to trigger that undershirt again is maybe gonna change the match. But we see hiding behind a wind on Sanctuary is pretty safe.
Ooh, so one thing you might be thinking is that, oh, now Flop-Tart will for sure get Dustman and get that big punish, but not only does Flop-Tart not run Dustman, but Dustman is actually not even breaking. So if Dustman connects on Slash Cross, we didn't even do 2x damage. I don't think even the cube that Dustman takes becomes not breaking anymore, for some reason.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind.
So unfortunately that Judgment misses, but that still has the option with that Flash Bomb. Oh,
We're going through the chips quickly.
no, the Ambo will come down. Ooh, nice! And using that Beast Buster.
The Gregor Beastbuster gets those 2 shots before Flop could get off a single shot. Coming down to the wire.
Yeah, and so one thing at the start of this match, we had a slight sound effect that played, and what that means is that one of them has Invis color bug. But since we know what Navicast both of them are running, and Flop-Tart doesn't have color bug at all, that means Das got it. But I'm not sure if Das managed to pick it up on that sound cue, and they are going into Heat Cross, which with 3 fire burns and the grass panel, that does make a lot of sense, I have to say. Nice. Actually they did connect it. Oh wow.
I think it was both, yeah, and now they're trapped on that one corner.
And that will connect.
Whew.
That was quite the exchange. So
Very fiery start.
that does give Flop-Tart anger. Are we going to see the dream of 2x Corn Fiesta? Ooh, and the Sanctuary wouldn't help with that, so that connects, that could be very big. Yeah, you probably want to start with an Invis.
Definitely.
Oh no, alright, let's see. And obviously Flop-Tart deciding to stay in base Mega Man. Spoutsman and... okay, nice.
Trying to bait out the TFC with Spout.
Yeah, that ended up working out. Having to throw away Spoutsman is more than worth it to avoid taking all of that damage. Now Das has their own Corn Fiesta, but they are deciding to use the area grab maybe to try to confirm the area, and since if Flop Tart steps up, they can completely avoid it.
Going into a race for that extra damage on the machine guns. It's getting close. They're close in health, but maybe Das has a bit of a lead here with the Sanctuary and about 300 health.
So I mean, that could very easily change. We do see the 3 Embomos that Flop Tart is running, so. And they're double hits. And Rush activated, so Flop Tarts will probably try to get invis, but taking a lot of damage from both these.
Another anger. Oh. That was really a all or nothing play there, trying to keep the anger for whatever was in the back for the next turn, maybe even a Neo variable.
Yeah, that was a pretty big punish having both machine guns that turn. So if Flop Tart was able to step up and then use that rush, then maybe they could have taken one less hit from both machine guns. That could have helped quite a bit, but yeah, well played to both sides.
Yeah, it's always fun to see those Corn Fiestas fly.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, you don't see it as often in Standard, though it does definitely get used, but people using Rush to punish the opponent for having it is pretty fun to see.
Yeah, when Invis is your only defense, you really want to run Rush to stop them from just get rid of one or more of those chips so that they only have 2 of them. But anger can impact the match much more than one extra Invis can.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to see what players come up with to use their anger procs for.
GG's, well played to both sides, and with that, we'll head into our next match with Master 6 vs Winter Girl.
So we see here, I think that we looked at Master 6's Navicus before. We have the shield, which is my personal favorite, as well as some solid buster stats and super armor and 500 health. So, pretty balanced build as well, but no cust. And then we're looking at Winter Girls, which has a lot of fun stuff in it too. This is actually a shield versus shield match, so I'm excited to see who utilizes shield the most. But Winter Girl also has that float shoes that we've seen be very influential, as well as Tango, which I think this is the first time we've seen Tango, but Tango is an interesting chip, an interesting Navicus part, especially for the 5x5 category of Navicus, because it gives you a 300 health heal and a 100 health barrier, a yellow barrier, when you're in the danger zone of health. So it's kind of padding your health, but in a way that, the normal rectangular blocks of health don't always match up. And it lets you really get a lot of Navicus programs in. You see all 5 solid pieces there with shield, float shoes, Tango, undershirt, and super armor, as well as a couple buster stats.
Yeah, I mean, the recovery and even just having the extra barrier can be really huge, especially as we've seen before, doing even just 100 damage. Your buster shots are very unlikely to do it, and you don't really want to waste one of your chips, especially, I mean, Master 6 is running fire, the fire hit PA, which in theory that could be fully blocked by a barrier 100, funnily enough.
Yeah, and anything beyond the 100 damage is blocked as well, so if you get hit by Master's Element Sword, it's just going to stop it. So, it can sometimes be worth more than 500 health. Although, if it gets hit by a Tengu EX, maybe it's worth less than 100 health. It's interesting, and the wind too.
That is a good point. And one interesting interaction to keep in mind for Tango is that if you are paralyzed or losing control of your character, so being paralyzed, frozen, bubble, or even flinching in theory, but Integral has super armor, so we probably can't see that. It doesn't activate until you regain control of your character. So maybe Judgment or in a time freeze, if Master is able to do that, could mean that full Navicost that takes up quite a bit of space wouldn't really be utilized.
Yeah, I mean, we could easily see it with, 2 Aqua Dragons and, just some other chip that could easily do 300 damage and keep him stunned the whole time, or frozen. Looking at Winterville's folder, we haven't looked at him yet. We see Gundal's Soul, which was in the pool, but I don't think we've seen it yet. I think it's a really cool tech chip, and it removes Invis if it hits.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how well they can use it. So, especially with the Poison Seed, maybe, which does do tick damage, and Master isn't running Flow Choose. So, if Wintergrun is able to confirm Gandalf Soul 1, that could actually be quite a bit of damage. And
yeah, those double area grabs or triple area grabs could easily make it happen.
The other thing to point out is that we do see double point and Navi plus 20. So double point does have a few options that it could go into. So it could be Risky Honey, Machine Gun, I mean even Spoutman, which does get some value, but it's not too great. But unfortunately, I'm not too sure if Integral assume that Slashman and Judgment also will get the Kunai and Bugs boost as we mentioned before, which unfortunately they don't. So that might have been a bit of a waste, but I mean, who knows? We'll see how it plays out. Spouseman plus 40 double point could be quite a bit of damage, especially on a water cross. I mean, on a fire cross.
Yeah, and we've seen how many ice panels seem to just crop up, so.
Yeah. Alright, I believe that's pretty much everything. Let's head into the match and see how they both play out. We do see that difference in HP straight away, so Master is starting with 500 more HP, which is basically 50% of the starting HP, but again, keep in mind, there is that hidden extra HP with Tango.
Yeah, I always love to see Tango come in and help. Is he a monkey or a cat?
I'd say a cat. I don't think it's a monkey.
I think we need an N1GP official decree on whether he's a monkey or a cat.
I guess
we'll see. Everyone will see him.
I mean, I guess let's see what people in the chat think about that. I think it should be a cat. If you look at the different arts for it, it's probably a cat, but who knows?
You see the Elm Trap. It paralyzes too when it hits with thunder.
And the double paralysis though looks like Master is going to cross out to charge cross. Ooh, Gandalf actually doing quite a bit of damage. I mean, decent damage, and then followed up by that Spouseman getting a D-cross. That's a pretty big turn.
A little bit of shield use. I don't think we mentioned it, but I believe that both of these are new players to the scene as well. So it's always fun to see some newcomers face off against one another.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point. And looking at Master's hand, looks like there are out of options. They don't really have too much. There's these two element sword, but there is no way to gain elemental advantage on the field. They were considering going into beast out, which since they are null chips, they can chip charge them. But looks like they just took one of them, maybe to throw away, then cycle through their folder a bit more.
And you know, Master might be wanting to keep on Tengu just in case a life aura crops up eventually.
Yeah, that is a good point. They don't have access to Tengu Cross, which has the B-back ability to just deal with auras and barriers like that. And they are going into Beast Out now, which, as we all know, the race chip charge is very strong. Ooh, and it does connect. There it goes. So I have to say, now that I'm seeing Tengu again, it does look quite a bit like a small monkey.
I mean, I'm on your side. I think it's a cat, but you know, seeing it every once in a while makes you wonder.
Ooh, flash bomb coming down. Yeah, so interestingly enough, the fan, if that was placed in Master 6's area, then that would have been destroyed, but Flash Bomb only hits the opponent's area, which means that even though it's placed by the opponent, it still survives. We're now going into... Ooh, nice! So going into Electros, and then that fan actually blocking the blast man, though unfortunately Master wasn't really able to move forward to try to connect with that beast chip charge, so they just decided to remove the fan. I think they might have been able to go forward, especially since fan doesn't hit all the field at the same time. It goes one panel at a time basically. Ooh, and the Aqua Dragon will instantly deal with these holy panels, which is going to be very nice, or at least most of them.
Yeah, a definite good way to deal with holy panels is that Aqua Dragon. There's just so many ways to deal with holy panels in this this week's chipset.
But Tomahawk Cross is coming out from Montegro, though they don't really have any of the really strong wood chips other than the Beast 20. So if they are able to connect, and it looks like, yeah, that's Slashman SP. Unfortunately, the Slashman himself is going to miss. Ooh, Blast Maniacs coming out. Well, D-Cross, these bees wouldn't help against fire, unfortunately, and then a Buster Shot finishes off.
Oof. And that's interesting. So I believe the bees are the reason that he was not flashing, right?
Yeah.
So he was able to... Sorry, yeah, explain it.
So, no, I was just saying that the bees end up even backfiring. Not only did they not block the blast man, they also caused Montegro to not be flashing and take the extra damage.
We see a bit of damage coming out from the Gundam Soul too. And a bit of panicked shielding just to try and catch a chip that may or may not come out before the end of the turn.
Life Aura coming down, replied to by an Invis into a fast gauge, so we know that Invis is going to be there for a bit more than a turn. And, ooh, nice. Holy panel coming down. This field arrangement is looking pretty rough for Master, so they don't have much to move to, and obviously holy panels, though thankfully most of these holy panels should be dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, if he's able to get his area back, he may even want to keep that first row.
And yeah, looks like that's going to probably happen. Oh, no, very unfortunately misses. We shoot 2 of the buster ups for Master, which are going to be pretty nice, allows them to go through their folder a bit more. But they are getting the maximum benefit out of Charge Cross and the very nicely timed invis avoiding that machine gun.
We have the PA in hand, but I think he's trying to go for the D-Cross first.
Yeah, and probably pushing them away from these holy panels. So let's see if their plan works out.
We still haven't seen the Dust back B yet, opting to just kind of make the area a lot more difficult to play around.
Grab coming down, though not quite in time, and there goes that D-Cross. Very nice. Okay, so I was going to say very nice when Integral deciding to stay in place and not step back in case they lose the area. But to be fair, they just use an area grab and that refreshes the area time. Now it looks like Master is still holding on to that PA in hand, playing it patient, which I think is a good strategy. So Invis is very strong, as we've already seen, especially in fast gauge. So being patient with it and waiting for the opponent's defense to run out and removing their holy panels is pretty good, I would say. It's very tempting to go with the very big flashy plays, but sometimes taking it slow and going through your chips is much more better. Oh no, not being able to step under the flash bomb, which wasted a lot of the turn for Master, which caused the Judgment to miss. But at least the area grab does come down, getting a bit of the area.
Still gets that one panel. I don't know if he would have had time to charge up the Charge Cross charge to go invulnerable for the flash bomb, but that might have been another choice.
Ooh.
He knows it's coming.
I don't think they can avoid it though. Oh,
trying to shield it. Still gets the anger though.
Yeah, I think it's pseudo breaking. I think so. Because that shield timing looked pretty close.
It did.
Now let's see what comes out of the anger. Oh, that poor flash bomb. Denied by the freeze. Oh, and it connects anyway.
The Spout Man with both of the Navi plus 20s on it as well.
Ooh, okay, barely avoiding. Actually, what if that was intentional? Maybe they expected the anti-element, so they took the hit to avoid being frozen and taking the extra damage. Judgment coming down, unfortunately missing though. And last man in hand, let's see if it connects. Ooh, Fanfare. Oh, Fanfare was still in effect, so that will unfortunately miss. It's always
we're
fun.
at the end part folder.
Always fun seeing the freeze from an ice seed coming down. But looks like they're Montegro knows they are free to go in Dust Cross, and ooh, looks like double point Bs. Let's see if it sticks. And there it goes. Ooh! That was very fast damage. And now, pretty nice start for Master 6, going with the Ice Seed into Aqua Dragon. But looks like they decided against going into Charge Cross, which is an interesting play. Went down very quickly and double counter it though. Yeah, it looks like nice. So Master ends up avoiding the mash, which similar to how Rush works, being paralyzed for long enough, doesn't matter what source it is, will give you anger, and Element Trap is a pretty nice choice. Unfortunately, just one part off of that PA for Master.
Yeah, and we've seen that Element Trap ×2 do a lot of work in these matches with that Sanctuary Life Aura as well.
Machine. Oh no!
Oh no!
Very unfortunate. Probably the wind also helped since it made it a bit more difficult for Master 6 to perfectly dodge the machine guns. Ooh, another counter though. Let's see. Ooh, double point. That's going to confirm the golem head, but could be scary for bees.
Ooh.
Okay, that was almost very close. We already saw how much bees do. Let's see.
Oh, a little too early.
That's very unfortunate, and I don't think we can see it here because of how the barrier sprite works. But I think Wintergirl still has their barrier 100, so unfortunately, the Blastman EX will end up being thrown into that, which would be pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the full extent of the bee damage either yet.
Yeah. There it goes. Yeah.
Oof.
Doing about 600 damage.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was just stuck thinking, why did that kill right away? Isn't there an undershot? Is there an issue with that? But that was on a poison field, which is going to deny the effect of undershot, which causes the instant delete.
Yeah, we've seen Poison Field do a lot of work, get a lot of deletions this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think Poison Seed is pretty underrated. Even in Standard, we do see people running it occasionally, but it's not used that often.
And the nice cross slash from Neo Variable coming out.
Yeah.
Somewhat hard to confirm, but a lot easier in Beastover.
And especially with the fast input. So it, fortunately, which I think is one of the more fun aspects of NeoVary, is that the only thing it's limited by is how fast you can put the input. So that was a pretty fast cross slash. So being able to catch them as soon as they move or things like that, it can definitely be very skill intensive to get right.
Definitely some close matches from some new players. Hope to see them again in the future.
All right, hope so indeed. Well played, both sides. And yeah, so next we will be going into our next and unfortunately final match for today, which will be Sharonaneb vs Non-Stop Mop.
So we've talked about Sharana's Navicust before, but for a refresher, it has one cust, so you start with cust 6, but it also has that poem that lets you cycle through the emotion state, letting you get those 2 times procs every once in a while, but also sometimes putting you at disadvantage by not being able to beast out. Nonstop Mop, however, is running a kind of balanced build as well, with only 1200 health. That was the first thing I saw. 1200 health is a little low, but they have first barrier to help out a potential Dusty Cross, or just any chip really is going to get blocked by it, especially with the lower Buster stats overall.
So you highlighted the HP plus 200, which unfortunately, I mean, especially in Standard where you can much more easily use the higher parts with the more area, but even now you can see it's one more space, a single block away from getting 100 extra HP. But looking at Non-Stop Mob's Navicust, they also have both of these green and both of these blue parts with that charge max, so I don't think they would have had an easy time trying to fit all of that in while avoiding these bugs, which can be very bad. So
yeah, definitely trying to avoid custom bug and warp step here, as well as keeping rush. So, it's a compact but intentional Navicust for sure.
yeah, so going into their folder, we also see them running Time Bomb, 2 of them in fact, but they are on the same code. So looks like, I think this might even be the first folder we see without a PA. I'm not too sure.
I think you're right.
So we see the Time Bombs 3s in C code as well as the Risky Honeys. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting. The Fire Burn and the Risky Honeys in C code, which is going to be pretty interesting in terms of folder composition where they take into account.
Yeah, and we see some in code. We've seen some in code before, but this time we're not looking at the in boomers. We're looking at the Time Bomb 3s. Especially if the 2 Dustman, you can either get the damage from the Time Bomb or get the damage from the Dustman, and it'll both be a pretty good chunk of damage. And we see that 2 Ice Seeds, which will help set up for the Element Swords as well, and the 2 Spoutman. So we're seeing a lot of Navi and just regular chip combos here in Non-Stop's folder.
Yeah, and the one thing to keep in mind is that they don't have any cursor chips, so going against Dust Cross could be potentially annoying, but thankfully they are going against Gregor in this match, so no Dust Cross to worry about.
Yeah, and we've seen Sharona, but we also know that those Time Bomb pluses can be devastating. We have 2 Dustmans on Non-Stop side, so maybe we'll see a little reversal there. But also Sharona has that double custom, double color bug. That might make the start pretty hard as well.
Alright, well, let's see how it plays out. Currently, my dream for this match is having 2 Time Bombs at the same time and both of them being taken by Dustman, so we'll see if that goes through.
It's definitely a possibility.
Alright, let's head into it. Okay, so we are starting with the Permahall field, which actually we did see it in the previous match that Sharona played, but it wasn't really highlighted. But the way Time Bomb works is that it places it at the same row, but it's at the first panel that it can place it in. So in theory, if you have the Holy panel and your opponent standing behind it, and the panel behind that is empty, then you could put that Time Bomb at the very end, which I think in Standard or even in mod cards can be interesting with people running double shots, which is also very rarely seen. But obviously you don't have that set up for this sport. Ooh, and starting with green invis, unfortunately that means Non-Stop Mob will have a bit of a hard time dealing with that first turn, and that D-Cross straight away, very closely timed with that Beast though.
That was a Humor Proc D-Cross machine gun doing 200 damage in a single hit.
And we see Non-Stop Mob already losing that 200 HP and falling down behind even further compared to Sharona with a 500 HP difference now. But who knows, I mean, a single chip could very much just make up all of that difference. And that color invis, the green invis or vulnerability is going to last a bit longer in terms of Sharona taking advantage out of it, which obviously that's what they're looking to do. Oh, Icy going down, machine gun dealing with that second trap. Oh, nice, and connecting these tank cannons. Uvu will be proud, I'm sure. And there it goes. Time Bomb Plus, let's see if it sticks. can do 700 damage, which that's pretty much all of non-stop mob's HP. Okay, defense, but that wouldn't help. Oh, life aura is going to block that. Ooh. And oh no! Half of the dream working, taking one of the time bombs, but unfortunately not the second one. That was very, very big though for non-stop mob, because now Sharona is going to have a pretty hard time dealing with that life aura. It looks like they are going for a bit more defensive turn instead of trying to gamble on a 2x tank cannon.
Yeah, and I think Sharona might even need to use some of those buster ups before they're able to get rid of that life aura.
Ooh, very nice TFC, saving them from the freeze, and obviously halving the damage as well. And while non-stop mob is running rush, there it goes, which will eat the invis. Unfortunately, Sharona does have color bug, which means they will get anger, but the anger will go away right as soon as the element changes. Ooh, that was quite the combo though.
Yeah, a good ice seed that stops the sanctuary into an element sword for some damage. I don't know if the time bomb's going to go off. I think they'll be done flashing, but there's an invis anyway.
I'm not too sure about the timing either. I think it was pretty close. Ooh,
Just missing the ×2. Oh, there it is. Getting rid of the life aura with humor.
The Spatsman will connect this time, which will apply that freeze, and obviously Sharona doesn't want to cross, so they might, oh no, the time bomb, and they are on an ice panel as well, so if non-stop mob goes into spout cross, they can extend that freeze, which will be, I think, long enough for the time bomb to go off. Well, let's see if that goes through. Ooh, deciding to go for Dustman, which Sharona just last second changed their mind on the order of that chip, which ends up getting punished with that 2x Dustman. Unfortunately, the cube doesn't get the advantage from the 2x. Flash bomb sticks. Oh, nice, getting in charge shots.
Every little bit helps here, especially when you're this close.
Now, are we going to see tank a cannon M bringing non-stop mob to 1 HP? That might be where we are now. Ah, oh, okay, never mind. Could still happen though. Oh, okay. Just waiting in anticipation. And now Sharona's considering what they want to take. Judgeman is a pretty good option since there is basically no defense that can deny Judgeman anymore.
If they mash out a bees, it's possible, but instead we see a cross and a move.
That is a pretty valid option. That was a close one as well. Almost got hit, and unfortunately the flash bomb will deal with the entries very quickly. Non-stop mob's HP is getting pretty low, but so is Sharona's, and we still don't know quite what non-stop mob still has. Trying to bait some movement, chip charging. Ah, charge shot. Oh no, undershot, that's right.
Very close into that one.
Alright, starting with an invis into 2 area grabs. So this is an area heavy play for Sharona, which will confirm that tank cannon of all sticks.
That's true, and area grab can also kind of help you out by getting rid of fast barrier if they move forward.
Yeah, that is a good point, and actually that reminds me, is it fast or first barrier? Speaking of cat or monkey.
I like to think it's first barrier, but I don't know, sometimes fast barrier comes out.
Alright, so now we see, oh nice, being able to get in that charge shot just before the flash bomb goes off, and obviously that invis was well used by Sharona, with being able to use it in a TFC, which is one of the ways to get around Rush.
And we see 2 of the bombs. We'll see the 3rd one on the next turn.
Wait, shouldn't we have gotten the 3rd one already, since they are supposed to be tagged? Unless I so oh, the Slashman unfortunately isn't going to deal with that flash bomb. Let's see if Buster Chest now. Oh nice, and the Spoutman for the freeze, which should be followed up by free 2x charge shot. Yeah, there it goes. Not too much damage, but I think it still adds up to 160 with the 2x. Okay. There is that PA now, but obviously Sharona doesn't want that to be blocked by the life aura, and they don't have too many options, so they have 4 chips in hand they don't really want to use. Ooh.
That was some really nice timing. Just going back on the ice panels, using that slide to get behind the flash bomb, get rid of it, and then get rid of the ice panels with the sanctuary. Very, very clean steps there.
If Sharona is able to land in this area grab, then non-stop mob will be locked because of the conveyor panel. But let's see if it goes through. They took the machine gun, which is probably going to end up being thrown away, which is unfortunate since we saw how big it was in previous games this stream. Oh, actually, never mind. They didn't take machine.
Not quite able to step under the ice seed to stop it from getting rid of Sanctuary. We're coming along here a couple turns with this life aura. I wonder if maybe they're just thinking about trying to time it out.
Yeah, so that is one of the outs to life aura. So the 2 main ways to deal with life aura is, actually it's 3 main ways. So dealing 200 damage in 1 hit, using a wind chip or a wind effect, and the 3rd one, which very rarely gets seen because it takes so long, but life aura does time out after, I think it's 3000 frames, which is about 6 standard turns.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, these holy panels for non-stop mob make it even more difficult for Sharona to deal with this holy panel. I mean, with this life aura. I think, yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty difficult position. Maybe using. Okay, there it goes.
We finally have Tengu. Yeah. That was locked in extremely fast.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe they could try to take the time bomb, use it at the very end of turn, and then hope for Tengu Man next turn. But unfortunately, there is still that dust cross, which means it can just take it away very easily before activate.
No way to deal with this sliding back and forth. But are we gonna see it?
Trying to get buster shots barely being avoided, and now Sharona's down to 1 HP. It looks like they are going for that PA play, but with the holy panels and being down to 1 HP, that's a pretty difficult position to do enough damage.
I mean, and non-stops and dust too. Oh, that poor PA.
Alright, and that will take us into a final game 3 for the stream. So, and that's a pretty interesting start already. So starting with that cube field and these ice panels.
Yeah, Nonstop really does like having those ice panels for Elm Sword and Spoutman.
Yeah, and he does have the ice seed as well. So, I mean, let's see if he can get the freeze.
Just trying to cycle through chips to get the Sanctuary out. Even though they're going to lose the invis to Flash Bomb, stopping that 100 damage from the Ice Cube was maybe worth it.
But well, now we see 3 machine guns in Sharon's hand, though they decide to take only 2 of them into the tank, but this could potentially be a painful turn for Non-Stop Mob if we see that 2xD cross again. Ooh, nice, using Firebrand pretty strategically to deal. The final hit
Ooh, the
connect.
last hit.
No, and they also had the Spouseman. If they managed to use Spouseman to freeze in the middle, that could have interrupted the animation. But well, a second machine gun would have made it pretty likely, or at least a D-cross to go through. Slashman will be blocked by that time bomb. Nice though. Okay, it does get destroyed. Which interestingly enough didn't give enough time for Slashman spawn. That was interesting. I don't think I've seen that before.
That was interesting. Oh, and waiting for the ×2 for the machine gun also.
But unfortunately the first hit does miss from that machine gun because of the sliding, and now that Non-Stop Mob is able to react, it should be a lot easier to avoid the rest of the hits as well. Ooh, or using bees, which is a much better option. Nice, getting in a bit of damage with Slashman. Their HP is pretty similar to that Blastman. Oh, okay, almost got the 2x. Let's see if another option comes through. Looks like it doesn't.
Very, very close now.
Yeah, only 30 HP difference, and I mean, Sharona does have a 700 HP PA basically, so that could just go in a blink of an eye. If that blink takes 3 seconds.
If you blink every time the time bomb stops down, yeah. I feel like I would consider going Beast Out here to land some of these cannons a little bit easier and get the extra damage.
Yeah, though I mean, to be honest, if you're going into Beast Out at this point, might as well chip charge them, since that would be more damage at higher attack. Oh, and I see it getting the freeze for free. Oh, nice.
Oh, well, you know, we see that Humor get rid of the life aura again.
And the Stun Cannon staring down Beast Out. Ooh, Time Bomb getting into that back panel as... Oh wow, interesting. So that's the only frame I believe this could happen. Time Bomb activates. Non-Stop Mob's HP. Oh no, missing. Very
just
close.
barely missing.
Yeah. Now that PA, let's see if it's going to be the finisher though. Non-Stop Mob doesn't run undershirts, which again means that any chip that does 110 or more could be enough for game.
You could have even played them out of order and maybe gotten a couple tries.
Ooh, Invis coming down. There might be enough time before going into the next turn. There is that 2x though. Oh no, is it going to survive? Spasma? No. Okay. Yeah, this is really rough.
Ooh.
No! If that Spasman had been directed at the time bomb, then it would have been destroyed.
Oh my gosh. Just going for that overkill, that 1300 damage overkill with 1 HP left. What a way to go.
You could say they went out with a bang. Yeah, very well played. I mean, that was a very, very close match at the end there. So Non-Stop Mob was hoping to get that double hit with Tenguman SP instead of going for the, I guess, defensive play of wasting Spoutman, since you never know, Tenguman could have completely missed either way.
Yeah, it all kind of came down to where that time bomb got placed and just how the players reacted to it, but Tengu only got 1 hit on it, so it really was difficult to destroy either way.
Yeah, and Spoutsman was very close to freezing Sharonanep, which would have been in the perfect position to get the double hit as well. So again, very, very close and well played to both sides. That was a very fun match to watch.
Very well played.
And yeah, unfortunately, that was the final match for today's stream. But if you are looking for more Battle Network action, so don't worry, we will have more tournaments happening over the next coming week. So, as people know, this is the break from New Moon, but we had Pool Party throughout last week, and next week we will have signups for Freaky Friday. So, we're probably going to have 2 Freaky Fridays until New Moon starts, one being next week and another one afterwards. So, you still have more opportunities to join if you're interested. And for people that might be new, just to briefly explain what Freaky Friday means, since all of these names can be pretty confusing. So basically, Freaky Friday is a format where players get assigned a random build that was used in any of the previous standard format new moons. And they have, so normally people are assigned 2 builds and they have to pick one of them. And thanks to the help of people in Discord, we have save files ready for almost all of the build. And that's a lot of builds. I think we got over 250 builds, which almost all of them have a save file ready. So joining Freaky Friday is even easier compared to before. All you need to do is keep an eye out for the sign up sheet, which will be released in the announcement shortly, hopefully. Fill that in and then reply with which build you wish to take into the week. All right, and with that out of the way, this will conclude today's stream. So thank you everyone for watching today's stream, and I mean, hopefully you've enjoyed it. And I know I had a lot of fun, and it was a lot of very explosive matches, especially with the final one.
A lot of great battles. I love seeing Pool Party because you see all these combos that you don't get to see very often. You see corn fiestas flying everywhere. You see time bombs. You see power waves. And it's exciting to see what people come up with. Even with only 50 chips, no folder was very similar at all.
Yeah, that definitely very much goes to show how there is, I mean, we have a lot more chips in the standard pool and the builds are even more varied. So that's part of the fun of just Battle Network as a system in general, where you can get a lot out of it basically. But yeah, so I mean, thank you Shadow for organizing the tournament and joining me on commentary today, and obviously a huge shout out to Salad for making the stream layout, which I'm not too sure if people managed to notice, but there was a special Easter egg done with the transitions and the erase man for the commentators. So if you didn't catch that during the stream, then take a look back at it and enjoy it. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, thank you, Salad, and thank you to everyone who played and signed up. We had, the most people who've ever signed up for a pool party before, so I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll do some more in the future.
Alright, yeah, thank you everyone. It was fun to have everyone here, and hopefully we'll see you all again next weekend for hopefully another stream. Take care and goodbye.